highlighted that you also use distributed ledger technology as a form of sharing data. And I'm curious, why did you use this tool? And is this your method in the backbone of how all of these different stakeholders are exchanging and using or viewing data?
Yeah, this is a great story around all this, right? In terms of the development of this whole concept. So, I read a white paper that was produced by the chief medical officer at Intel Corporation about 3 years ago. And in his white paper, he basically laid out how blockchain, quote unquote, could be used to basically solve the problem we've been talking around credentialing. He was also the state surgeon for the California National Guard. I reached out to him and we had a couple of very good conversations around this topic. We had built the guts of the validation engine already, and we're looking, for a method to commercialize this. And long story short, he put me in touch with the folks at Hashed Health in Nashville, who basically have the most successful venture development studio around distributed ledger use cases in healthcare. And we spent about 6 months putting together a business model and did JV, which is what ProCredEx is around, creating this marketplace using DLT, which is distributed ledger technology. I view distributed ledger in a very simple way, right? The historical software stack has been, for the last 20 years, has been UX, user experience, logic or programs, and data or persistence, right? Those three layers have made the software stack, and especially web apps, for a very long time. What I believe distributed ledger does is creates a new layer in the stack called trust. It's as simple as that. You insert it between the logic and the data, where the applications themselves can test the data to ensure that the data has never been modified, right? And it gives us this layer of trust that we can ensure members that no one has gone into any of this data at any time and changed it in any way from the time it entered the exchange to the moment you're looking at it and relying upon it. And no other technology really provides that kind of reliable capability, right? We are not doing cryptocurrency. We're not doing anything, around any of that. We're using the distributed ledger to capture the state that document was in, or the credential verification was in at the moment it entered the exchange, and we're ensuring everyone who's either selling it or buying it that it has never been touched or modified in any way.
Interesting.
And that's something that can't be done with emailing or faxing or other methods of distributing data. This is one of the fundamental reasons why people don't share stuff today, because you get an email with a PDF in it, you have no idea that if the person sending it modified it, right, or did anything with it whatsoever. So DLT gives us that layer of trust, which is so important for this use case.
Interesting. Well, I think I really like your analogy about how it adds a layer of trust, and
Yep.
and I think it's a great way to look at the value of this specific type of tool.
Yeah.
I
think
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was to say, Kyle, there's also one other really important aspect, around our application of DLT. Blockchain type protocols are public protocols, right? And some of those early protocols that use distributed ledger to create an application, like Bitcoin or what have you, have a very simple metaphor that everybody has a copy of the ledger, the actual distributed ledger, and therefore everyone knows and can rely upon the fact that nothing's changed, right? That doesn't work in healthcare, right? And we have used a protocol developed by R3 Corporation called Corda, where everyone's ledger in the network is private to the member themselves and contains only the transactions that that they have elicited on the exchange. But the Corda net, or the Corda protocol itself, is governed by call it, auditors and inspectors and everything else, and ensure that collectively all of those counterparty transactions are aligned. And this protocol was developed by the financial services industry because banks don't want other banks having their data per se on their ledger, on the node, if you will, right? And I think one of the hardest things that we had to do over the last 20 months or so was analyze all these different distributed ledger protocols that are available out there and pick one that would meet HIPAA requirements, that would meet high-tech requirements, and would also not expose potentially competitively sensitive information amongst other members to each other, right? And also from a performance perspective, we needed an environment that operated north of 300 to 400 transactions per second, right? And some of these older protocols struggled to get to 20 transactions a second. So we really did a lot of work on what protocol was going to be right for this use case. And that's anytime you hear folks talking about using DLT, those considerations have to be put in front of the application of that technology in a healthcare setting.